welcome to your mat. Taking a moment to find a seat, maybe sitting crisscross applesauce, maybe on your knees, maybe sitting on a bolster. Grounding down to the foundation beneath you. And then on inhale, reaching our right hand up overhead, lifting up out of that waist. Length through the side body. Exhale, look up to your hands. Release. Rolling it out. Arm up overhead. Down at your hand on the mat. Up at your hand overhead. Grounding down through the points connected to the earth. Reaching up out of that hip. Exhale, release. Moving up. Coming to hands and knees. Tabletop. Finding length from crown to tail. Exhale, pressing back through your fingertips, lifting out of your wrists. Finding length from crown to tail in between each vertebra. Taking a moment to count the lengths of your inhales and your exhales. Breathing expansively through your body. Exhaling fully. Then slowly pressing back, rounding through your shoulders, looking down at your navel. Round through to cat. Taking a few breaths here. Pressing through your fingertips and the palms of your hands. Rooting through. Your knees and your feet can either be flat on the ground or your toes can be tucked. Can't see that because of need. And then tucking the toes, let's press back into a downward facing dog. Putting all the weight in your left foot and then evenly distributed through your hands. Lifting up our right foot, keeping our hips parallel to the mat, pressing through our standing foot. Keeping an active right foot in the air, like you're pressing against that wall. Ears between your arms. Bend your knee, open up through that hip, point your toe. Return foot to mat. Setting up for the other side. Lifting your left foot up. Hips parallel to the mat. Pressing through your standing foot, active foot in the air. Pressing through your fingertips and your palms. Ears between your arms. Bend your knee, open up through your other left hip. Finding your breath. Making an expansive big belly. Exhale, navel to the spine. Release. Dropping back down to our table. Let's drop our belly, broaden through the shoulders. Into a cow, pressing through the fingertips and the palms. Imagine like you're hugging a block between your legs.
Pull your belly button to your spine. Rock back and forth. Looking over your left shoulder. And looking over your right shoulder. Staying with your breath.
Rounding through cat. Moving in a way that feels intuitive and comfortable for you. I'm going to step back into a plank here. Lower down, chaturanga. Baby cobra. Finding 3 rounds of breath in this shape. Squeezing your glutes, allowing your lower back to come online. Shoulders on the back. Palms and fingertips into the mat, but they're not pressing you up. Looking over your left shoulder and looking over your right shoulder. Exhale, release. Tucking your toes, pressing through knees, palms, back into child's pose. A pose of surrender, release, inner wisdom. Staying here as long as you'd like, or coming back to all fours when you're ready. Finding your breath, finding your foundation, pressing through your fingertips and your palms, out of your wrists, finding any intuitive movement that your body's calling for. We're going to put all of our weight in our left hand, and imagine now that you're pulling the mat apart with your knees. And lift our right hand up to the sky, maintaining the length in your spine from crown to tail. Pressing through that standing arm, expelling the oxygen, threading the needle, coming through, bringing your right ear to the mat. And then finding what's comfortable for your left hand. It can be up here overhead, creating length through the side body. Or you can wrap it through and tuck it around on the other side on your right hip. Also creating length in the side body. Or it can be right here in front of your head. Once you've found where you're most comfortable with your left hand, I invite you to look down at your right armpit. Finding your breath in this shape, finding length in your back and side bodies, finding your legs active like they're pulling the mat apart. Expanding into those areas that are constricted and hard to breathe into. Drawing an area, a shape around those spaces and breathing into them first. Mine's right here. It's green in color. It's kind of like a 2-dimensional shape. I'm trying to inflate it to be 3 and 4-dimensional. Breathing into that space expansively. And then pressing back up into our child's pose. Noticing the difference on each side. And then we're going to come up to the other side. Putting all of our weight into that right hand and then evenly distributing it between our knees, pulling the mat apart, finding length.
reaching up to the sky. Exhale, thread the needle, bringing your left ear to the mat. Finding where you want to place your floating hand. Star, no. Full inhales, expansively, breathing into those tough places, those ridges, stuck spots. Coming out when it's complete for you. Finding some hip circles. Replanting the hands on the mat. Reversing your direction. Breathing into those spaces, in places that are without ease, that hold your tension and maybe anxieties. Tucking our toes, pressing back into downward facing dog, following your breath. Taking a measurement, how long are your inhales right now? How long are your exhales? And walking your tippy toes to your hands. Toes slightly turned out. Allowing yourself to have your knees bent enough so that you can keep your hands flat on the floor. Finding length in your low back, length in your neck. See if you can bring your shoulders on your back. If that's difficult for you, bring your hands to support your shoulders. Allowing those shoulders to just rest on your back, not have to be overstretched all the time. We spend a lot of time with rounded shoulders. We want to open up, coming up, rooting to rise, pressing into the ground to stand up. Pulling our shoulder blades on our back, opening up through our heart space. On the front and both sides. Ooh. Finding length, reaching your left hand up. Staying rooted in the feet, lifting up out of this left waist. Allowing any exaggerated exhales, burps, flatulence to come out. Shifts are happening. We're working with our digestion when we do this. We are moving things internally with our breath, returning vitality, rich oxygenated blood to all the cells. Exhaling, release. And reaching up overhead the other side. Noticing what you notice. Where does your head want to be? Do you want to look up at your hand overhead or down? In front of you. Taking a few breaths in each position. And noticing how your breath flows into your body based on the direction your head is faced. Exhale, release. Finding grounding and centering on your mat. Knees slightly bent, hips over your heels. Pulling your floating ribs in, not letting them flare out when you breathe. Allowing that belly to expand, shoulders on the back. Bring your right ear to your right shoulder. I'm playing with my remote control for another camera as I'm getting geared up to do these yoga videos for you guys and my dogs and myself. This is good. All right, finding our mountain, feet firmly planted, knees slightly bent, hips over our heels, shoulders stacked over our hips. Finding length from the crown of your head, imagine that it's pulling up towards the ceiling. But your shoulders stay on your back. They don't come up towards your ears, right? Stay down. Or maybe they do, right? Maybe that's what it happens. And you just notice. That's where the work is. That's where you're strengthening. That's where you're stretching. And then we're going to exhale, knees bent, keeping a flat back, hinging at the hips, forward fold. Excuse me, too. Inhaling up, flat back. Exhale, release. Into our squat here. Pressing our fingers, palms together. Pressing our knees out, flat back, long spine. Then coming down to a seated. Lying down. Coming to the end of the practice. And just finding an easeful space to rest in. Thanking yourself for showing up today. Taking this time to just breathe and be. Namaste.